Disclaimer: everything that is discussed, posted is strictly for educational and historical purposes only. It does not promote, nor condone illegal activities. Blackrocks Kennels Zoro 3XW, let's go Fox, come on, motherfucker. It was heard in the mouth of the audience during his third battle, from which he would emerge victorious and make him a champion, as well as make a mark by becoming a champion in just 5 months. Yes, you heard right, 5 months. It all started when Zorro was bought by Roger Diaz from Tom Garner, not imagining that in his hands was what would then be a locomotive in the mouth. At that time, Roger decided to get some kennels in the city of Piedras Negras, Coahuila, Mexico, where he was in charge of Javier, better known as El Mudo among his friends. One day Jose Juiro decided to buy a dog, and therefore he commented to Javier his desire, and Javier commented this fact to Roger, who sent instructions to tell him that the dogs could be sold, as they were the ones he liked the least. On his return to Roger's yard, Javier shows 3 males and 2 females. Upon seeing them, the one who caught Jose's attention was the one with a black neck, today known as the Fox, because it was the first time he had put on a collar or status on the chain and felt like a fish out of water. The dog was very shy that he had never been outside, even for a walk. Upon arriving at Jose's house, he did not hesitate to measure the level of Zorro immediately, and what better dog for that of Vale to XW, despite the fact that Vale had a small dog that was used to the role since he was a dog that was ruthless. When releasing the Vale dogs due to their experience bit deeply at Zorro, who did not hesitate to respond in the same way to Vale. Minutes later you could hear Vale's bones crunching under the teeth of the Fox that stopped the roll, each making their respective scratches like arrows towards the opponent. Checked Zorro. It was noticed that he was missing 2 fangs, up and down, on the same side, and at the moment Jose feels that his hopes of playing Zorro disappear. After that situation they decide to take him to another yard where their opponent Gypsy weighed about 2 pounds. Advantage over Zorro, being heavy, Gypsy looked like a monster while Zorro sat silently watching. After in the roll, Gypsy only 9 minutes lost taste for the battle after finishing in pieces in the middle of the pit with both broken shoulders. Jose, seeing this, was affected. Already 3 minutes later the roll ended with Gitano practically in pieces that would die the next day from the injuries inflicted on him by this locomotive. Seeing how Zorro responded to the rolls, Jose uses him as a stallion for some time and keeps himself in the chain. Some months later, some friends were looking to try a dog called Calaman. So Jose decides to once again use the Fox, and what a surprise, this time all he did was 6 minutes to make pieces of Calaman, which ceased to exist 2 days later after the roll. Zorro was sent to Nueva Rosita, Coahuila with Vicky, a friend of Jose, from where he spent the next 2 months. Upon his return, Jose only thought of him rolling, as he thought that due to his lack of 2 cutters it would only be good for rolls, not realizing that the dog was screaming at the 4 winds to be in a show. At that time Isaac, a member of Jose's family, talked about a dog called Camino, which was open at 22 kilograms. When Zorro weighed 19 kilograms. So they decided to shoot Zorro for the 3rd time, and that was when Zorro received a near-death attack from Camino, who concentrated his attacks on the nose of his opponents. This time it was Camino who left his marks on the Fox's face and chest, but that didn't prevent the Fox from also inflicting a lot of damage to Camino's shoulders that took several months to recover from that roll. In the end, it was Zorro who stayed with the worst part of the roll, but he still went through the scratches, even when going through. When he put himself in his kennel after the toss, Zorro wouldn't stop biting on the metal door or barking in his frustration of not being able to finish his battle. Seeing the face of Zorro, Jose says Isaac to get it out of his kennel and stitch the face, since it was his idea to turn it around. The next day, Jose tells his cousin Isaac that he must put Zorro to sleep since he was in a very bad condition after that roll, which surprised Isaac a lot, and he didn't pay attention to what he was told. In his yard, Jose has a new acquisition named Stu Fowler, who came with a letter of introduction as a murderer. But to satisfy his curiosity of what he could do, Zorro decided to shoot, and in just 4 minutes Stu Fowler's was trying to show his bravery, but he couldn't even stand on his legs. That day Jose understood what he had in his yard was an animal that could write his own story in shows. This way, everyone always questioned Jose about how he could have a stallion that hadn't even been matched, which bothered Jose a lot. After much insistence, Jose decides to connect with Mr. Raul Garza of Saltillo, Coahuila, which would take place in Monterrey, weighing 19.5 kilograms. Jose, aware that it would only be fair to show that Zorro deserved to be raised. 20 minutes was all the fox with his cutters missing gave Mr. Huron's dog, breaking both shoulders and ending up in his kidneys. The other dog showed profound bravery by trying to zero in and dragging forward about 3 feet. About 30 minutes after the match, a play dog ceased to exist. The next day, again in his yard, Jose raised fox without any luck. 4 days later, he gets a call from Alfred from Evolution Kennels commenting that he had hooked a dog during a match, but that the dog had gotten sick and wouldn't be at his best for that show. Jose tells Alfred to get Zorro ready as the weight had hooked. He was right on Zorro's weight. Zorro arrived in perfect condition for that show, in which he would face A.P.B.T to XW of Quajimalpa Pereiras, who had made a name for himself as a destroyer who focused on the face of his opponents. When the dogs were set free, Shu had very little high capacity, fox on the nose, and at that time Jose did not know what to do, since the fox was known to go down under a pile. At that moment, Zorro changes his style and manages to get his A.P.B.T as well by the nose and throws him down, taking advantage of his position to enter A.P.B.T's throat and give him a shake that started A.P.B.T's defeat. After that weight, Zorro was the head of the pit. In the nose, chest, styles, even in the ear, Zorro was mopping the hole with the dog, which led him to win the trophy of best in show of a 28 card that happened. Back in Piedras Negras, after 10 days of deserved rest, another match was done for Zorro. This time it would be in Laredo, in which this keep, Zorro suffered a series of setbacks, and with only 3 weeks to go for his show, he is bitten by a snake, which consequently inflames his chest and shoulder. Antibiotics and vitamins was the order of the day to try and fight the snake bite fox had received. On the day of the match there were some small scars and consequences that made Jose think of paying forfeit, but his dedication to a commitment and his passion for watching the match, Zorro overcame any doubt. As it was to be expected, during the match the temperature of the fox was rising rapidly, but a good job in the corner between the scratches refreshing him and bringing his temperature down. The other dog had an incredible temperament. Besides being a nose dog with a lot of force, he was also smart because he controlled that match and would get himself on his shoulders whenever he encountered an opening. Something funny about this encounter was that Zorro's opponent, during the match, in a moment of carelessness, bit Jose. After the bite Jose had received, Zorro took charge of destroying that dog in its mouth, so that after 38 minutes, the dog stood the line, and 30 minutes later, it ceased to exist. Currently, Jose Marino Joyero and Ch. Zorro can be found in Piedras Negras, Coahuila, Mexico. Zorro is enjoying a well-deserved life as a stallion. He was christened with the name Zorro because of his mask that looked like the mask Zorro used in the movie. The kennel is known as Joyros Pereiras, and today it has merged with Alfred of Evolution Pereiras to form Blackrocks Pereiras. As a side note, he was given the nickname Joyero because of the profession of the parents Jose as a buyer and seller of the jewelry. What will remain a mystery now is what would have happened if the fox had his four cutters and not just the 2 that he made his career with. With great pride, Jose comments that all the work that was done with the fox, as well as all the other dogs, that he dedicates to his father and his sister Maria Fernanda Marino Hernandez, the Nana, as she was known in the family. Rest in peace. Well, there you have it, folks, the story of Blackrocks Kennels Ch. Zorro 3XW.